you hear you? Preempted. So welcome to WeAreTechNetworks, our third meeting of this year. So glorious to have you all with us. I know a number of you couldn't attend, so hopefully you'll be watching the recording now. So if you just bear with me, I'm just going to jump to my slides. There we go. So in terms of agenda, we've got a wonderful lineup of speakers. For some of you that are joining for the first time, WeAreTechNetworks is a forum that brings together the co-chairs and chairs of Women in Tech Network. So the idea is that eventually we will start to share more best practice, which we've done on previous meetings. And from our perspective at We Are Tech Women, we will bring to you speakers and items of interest for help you to grow and progress your Women in Tech networks. So we're just going to have a quick update from me. I'm going to remind you of a couple of things that we're up to, should they be of interest. We have a network spotlight, so we're very, very grateful to be joined by Ian, by Stacey, to talk to us about what TalkTalk are doing within their Women in Tech network and some of their initiatives. We're being joined by Robin Howard, who's part of PwC, but who runs Tech She Can. So some really exciting work going on within Tech She Can, which Robin will tell you more about. And then we have the wonderful Shilpa Shah from Deloitte, who's co-written a book for BCS around women in technology and how we increase gender diversity. So lots of opportunities for you to ask questions, and I encourage you to do that in the chat box. So if something springs to mind, if we've got any links that we're going to send, we'll post them in the chat box too. But we'll also send around a copy of this recording and all of the kind of resource links after the meeting. So again, great to meet you all. In a second, before I begin, I'll just go around and so that you can just say who you are and who's on the meeting. So bear with me. That's it. So a huge welcome to our new members, Bloomberg and PA Consulting. So great to have you with us. They recently joined since we held the last meeting. And as I said earlier on, our special guest are TalkTalk. So who's in the room? So these are the current members of We Are Tech Networks, but it's growing all the time. So again, you can help us grow this community. If you know another company that's setting up a Women in Tech network that you feel would benefit from this best practice, then please do connect us in. We would love to talk to them. So some fantastic companies on there spanning a multitude of industries. So just in quick one from us in terms of other things that we're doing, obviously We Are Tech Marine run We Are Tech Networks, but there's some other things that we have kind of going on at the moment. We launched the job board over the summer, so if any of you are looking to recruit women in tech, we have a 40,000 strong community of engineers, of program managers, of analysts, AI, cyber, come and talk to us. We're more than happy to have a chat with you about our job board. We've just relaunched the third series of our podcast, She Talks Tech. So that launches this week. Again, wherever you get your podcast, but there's some incredible speakers coming up on this series. So we're kicking off with wearables and femtech. So that happens this week. And again, you can get them on Apple or Spotify. Other things, we do a series of We Are virtual webinars, and we've got a wonderful lady called Jenny Varley that's doing our first webinar this week. And she's talking about how to implement job sharing and career progression for women in tech. So I believe that's on the 16th, so that's on Thursday. Again, completely free to attend, so feel free to go and have a look at that. Another thing we're working on in the background is every year we do an annual conference. We've been doing it for about 5 years. The last 2 years it's been virtual. This is a conference for women in tech. We talk technology to technologists, so we're covering things like AI, cyber, trends, everything from green tech for fintech, and diversity inclusion, the kind of whole 9 yards. So we're just working on that at the moment. We're going out for sponsors to support us to do that, but that will happen on the 29th of March next year. A global audience that attend that and definitely will grow in popularity. So if you're interested in that, either sending your women or being part of it, putting your own people on our stages, then do get in touch. I did want to say another thank you as well for all of you that supported our survey recently. So we partnered with Ipsos Mori and the Tech Talent Charter to try and get under the skin of what was going on within women's careers in tech. So we've just closed that. We've had about 350. I mean, bear in mind we run it over the summer, so I think we would have got bigger numbers pre-lockdown, but we've got a really good sample of data in terms of that survey and kind of what's going on within those women's careers. And when I saw some of the midterm results, it was really interesting because on previous focus groups done and surveys and things like that, one of the big drivers for women to move was policies, ethics of the company, stuff like that. Whereas what's coming top of this survey is money. Show them the money. So it's really interesting, the shift in what we're seeing in terms of what people are looking for. But equally interesting, and I was speaking about this on my Instagram Live this morning, there's a survey that's just come out from, it's a partnership between LinkedIn and Marie Claire, that talks about, I think it was something 58% of women would turn down a job if there wasn't flexibility within that job. These are mothers, and those without children would consider leaving their companies. I think the number was 82% would consider leaving their companies if flexibility wasn't an option. So go and have a look at that report. It's just another little resource for you to have a look at. But a big thank you for all of you companies that kind of helped us with that survey. The results are due in November. We're going to be doing a series of roundtables, and our plan is to present some high-level findings back to our clients, this group, around things you can do to kind of address some of those barriers. So keep your eye out for that one, for those survey results. So I'm going to hand over now to the wonderful team at TalkTalk. So I know we've got Ian with us. We've Anne couldn't join us, I believe, and we've got Stacey. So I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'm happy to change your slides. No, you don't have any slides, so all right. I'll put myself on mute, and it's over to you.
Hi, thanks, Vanessa. So hi, I'm Ian MacDonald. As it says on the slide, I'm Head of Integration, Operations and Billing Applications at TalkTalk. Having done a number of other sort of tech roles there as well. And really excitingly, I've been co-chair of our Women in Tech network since its inception 2 years ago. I guess the obvious thing to talk about is the fact that I'm a male that is co-chair of the Women in Tech network at TalkTalk, and we felt that was really key. I'd been working for some time around the challenges around gender diversity, and when I first took over a technology department, so I took over as head of software delivery at TalkTalk. At that time, it was a smaller department, and there were only 5 women in a department of 42, so less than 12%. We were in the process of growing that department. For me, it was really key that we covered all aspects of diversity to build a diverse and fantastic team. But I guess that the key thing working in a technology area, the key challenge we saw was wanting to ensure that we had diversity from a gender perspective. Actually, we were struggling to actually see, for a number of our technological roles at that time, ladies applying. So we worked really closely with our HR business partners and latterly with our inclusion manager to understand why this might be, to look at things like maybe unconscious bias in the wording of our job descriptions and things like that, and really tried to build that department and build my understanding and others' understanding around that. In my time in software delivery, I was really proud to play a part in regressing that balance, and in particular to have a leadership team that was a 50-50 gender split by the time I moved on from that role, and a department that had grown to 125 people, where around 28% of that department was female. But there was clearly an awful lot to do, and sort of during that time we found particular challenge at an entry level, if you like. So looking at graduates, we found that when we looked at sort of graduate programs, there was such a small percentage of those graduates would be women. So therefore we started to look at other opportunities with tech returners, apprenticeship opportunities, etc., but also starting to work more closely with schools. And it was around at this time that I worked alongside with a colleague to set up and co-chair our Women in Tech community. I guess at that stage, really on this singular purpose for me of how can we help to get more women into technology. But having done that and helped grow this community to now have, just checking the numbers of what we are at the minute, 229 people across TalkTalk, which makes up 12% of TalkTalk are now members of our Women in Tech community. And having grown that up and done some of the fantastic events that Stacey's going to tell us about shortly, I've learned so much, not just about the importance of creating these pathways into technology, about having a network where people can feel safe and open and talk, a place where we can put support on for people, but actually maybe to educate on the challenges that people have, the reasons that people might have felt comfortable working in technology. And I think we're always trying to learn from that. And so I wanted to hand over in a second to Stacey to hear a bit more about some of the things we do, the sort of sessions that we run, the events that we run, and then talk about what we've learned. We'll come back and talk a bit about what we've learned and what we hope for the future with our network. But for now, if I hand over to yourself, Stacey.
Well, thanks, Ian. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Stacey Valentine. I'm a lead business analyst in TalkTalk. So my role is really looking after BAs and product owners, and we're heavily focused on delivery and projects. But as part of obviously delivering a lot of tech projects, I got involved in the Women in Tech Network about 18 months ago. I'm a senior member of the committee, so obviously there's myself and Ian here today, but we have a committee that absolutely supports and helps with everything that we do. And we've got a good number, like Ian said, now 12% of the company follow and support our network. And the real reason behind that is we run a lot of events. So the types of events that we run, we aim for approximately 2 a month. One of the events is what we refer to as informal, where we bring our community together. So we look to bring majority of ladies, but we do have some male supporters, and we're looking to always attract more. We bring the community together and we get them to talk and share their own experiences around topics maybe such as confidence, relationship building, imposter syndrome, the barriers to their own success, opportunities within the workplace. So it's really about creating that environment where they all feel safe and support each other to help on their own journeys and career growth. The other event that we try and run on a monthly basis is then more of a formal event, similar style to today, if you like. It's been virtual for the last 18 months, but we're looking to get back face to face very soon, where we'll invite guest speakers in, whether that's leadership within TalkTalk or external, where we're looking to again create that inspiration more here around how do people feel inspired from seeing and hearing other people's stories. And one of the themes lately, actually, that we've done around that was mentoring. So we had a really good internal session on mentoring, and then we've just started to set up our own internal mentoring scheme. So we're referring to it as a Women in Tech Buddy scheme, where again the community kind of self-serve themselves, where they mentor, where they create that mentor-mentee relationship. And again, that focus is all about the technology and how do they again look at how they can really carve out their own career plans and feel supported as part of the community. So they're the main types of rhythm and routines, you like, that we run as part of our community. But what we also have had a big interest and focus on this year is looking at schools and the impact that we can have on that early career interventions and provide that insight and knowledge to girls at a school age. So we've run events with speakers for schools. We've done a virtual work experience, which was really successful. And we've got some great ideas around how we continue that moving forward with some schools in the Greater Manchester area. So it has been predominantly, that area focus, because that's where we're based, TalkTalk in Manchester, Salford. So, we want to continue to drive that. I think, there'll be some huge wins. I think being able to just again give that insight and support and knowledge and just share our own role models with people to understand there's women in technology roles and they're doing absolutely amazing, and really encourage people to take that career step. We've got some great stuff coming up. So we've got a talk tomorrow, actually, where again, it's more focused around our own internal leadership, but sharing some thoughts there. And then sessions later on this year where we've got external speakers coming in to talk around empowerment, something we haven't focused on yet this year. So yeah, we're always looking for new ideas. So if anyone's got any questions or thoughts or feedback, then absolutely share it. I think Ian mentioned a good point in that we're continually learning as a network. And that is something that, all them new ideas are really going to help us grow and have the impact that we want, which is to get that gender diversity. So I'll hand back to Ian now. We'll probably finalize actually and share some more of our ambition and where we want to be. We're 2 years in, but even though we've got good kinds of adoption rates, we're still really early days, I'd say, in terms of our ambition. So yeah, Ian.
Thanks, Stacey. Yeah, I'll only try and take another minute or so on it because conscious of time. But I think Stacey's talked there about growth. I think a couple of things. I think we grow individually each time we do one of these events. I think you get so much from running at any sort of event where you can see the impact that it's starting to have on people, and we learn ourselves from doing that. But I think as the network starts to mature, and we're a couple of years in now, we are looking at how we can influence more and more. So we've got a seat at the table when it comes to sort of company policies, helping to make sure that our policies are inclusive, and to make sure that our ways of recruiting are inclusive, and talked earlier about unconscious bias and such like. And I think it really is around, talking about a community that is for people of all genders, is for all people really, and we're looking at even things about, is Women in Tech the right name for this network and things like that as we go forward, or does that sort of limit our capabilities going forward? So it's a really exciting time and really good to be involved with a community such as WeAreTechNetworks to understand others who are probably more mature in terms of their networks. Have they been through similar challenge? Have they had to grow in this way? So yeah, it's really exciting for us to be here today. So yeah, I think that was the sort of introduction we were looking to give there, Vanessa.
And
oh, you're on mute, Vanessa.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you. As I say, it's really interesting to know where everyone else is on their journey. I'm just going to pick up on a couple of things that you mentioned, and also just after the session there are some questions in the chat box if you guys wouldn't mind addressing them. Just a couple of things that you said. We've got a relationship with Speakers for Schools. They're a fantastic organization. I'll get them in to talk at the next WeAreTechNetworks. So we're doing an event with Speakers for Schools where we're leveraging our award winners. So our Tech Women 100 awards just closed. We had 1,025 nominations in this year. We've had a record amount of nominations, but we use our winners to do other things within schools. So we're running a full-day event for kids who are part of Speakers for Schools to introduce them to the world of tech. So it's like a mini conference that's going on, and we're using our award winners to come and present and kind of pay it forward and give back. So if anyone needs any connection to Speakers for Schools, can definitely do that. But also we've got that event running as well, so keep you up for that if you know any youngsters that would benefit. Some other things you mentioned, the mentoring program. I did a series of mentoring circles for Nationwide a couple of years back. It's all out there in the public domain, but they had a really good idea around each of their tech departments, because one of their thinking was around creating relationships internally within tech that would then go on and champion the network and champion gender equality. So this was like an opening from one of the senior people that say was running CISO, their CISO, or their security department. Then they would have kind of a talk from him, and then we would have the senior individuals, the SLT, the leadership team, and we rotated individuals from that department, so they got a chance to kind of have one-on-ones with the senior leadership team, and it was really successful. And we went through Nationwide, literally going department by department, and we were due to do some more, but obviously COVID hit, so we've kind of put that on hold for 18 months. But happy to kind of share that model with any of you of how successful that was and kind of how it worked. So just something on the mentoring side. And then just on the naming piece, we have the other kind of sister site to this, Gender Networks, and there's long been that kind of bone of contention, if you like, in there around calling themselves women in whatever it is. And obviously HSBC fly the flag for that. They've been balanced for the best part of 11 years, so they wanted to attract both men and women. Whereas you have other people that come at it from we do have a problem around talent attraction, retention, you know, so this is about women in that particular area of the business. So an interesting one, but again, to talk, we can probably help you, giving you some gender neutral names for you to think about. But I think half of gender networks are now called Balance. You know, they've picked it up from HSBC. So just some extra bits and pieces on there, again, where we can kind of add value and help you on that journey with some ideas about different things that you can do, and some obviously connections externally. And Exeter schools are not the only ones. There's a number of them out there. So again, HSBC, we've got Joanne, I've just noticed on the chat group, so do reach out, you can connect with them as well. So obviously we've got our next guest speaker stepping in. So we did have the wonderful Sheridan Ash from PwC, who's been called away on a family emergency. So Robin has kindly stepped in at very, very late notice to talk a little bit about the wonderful work that PwC do on the women in tech side, and more importantly, tech she can. So I think I'm going to change your slides, Robin. So just tell me when you want to go.
Thank you. Hopefully they're the right colours this time. Can everyone hear me okay? Hear me all right? I'm hoping that's a yes. Hopefully you can hear me. Hi everyone, and I do recognise a lot of names on this call, so that are part of the Tech She Can Charter, so do feel free to add your comments as well as I go through. But I'm Robin Howard, I'm a Senior Manager in Technology Investments at PwC, but in a few weeks' time I will just solely be looking after the Tech She Can Charter. So I'll be running the operations for that, which has just recently achieved charity status. So if you wouldn't mind moving on to our first slide, Vanessa. The Tech She Can Charter is something that has been in existence for about 3 years now. Recently achieving our charity status has been something that has been in motion for a year, so we're really delighted to get this status. It means that we have a little bit more flexibility in the amount of organisations that are involved as part of the charter, and a bit more flexibility in things like our brand. So we don't have to use all of our PwC colours, as you can see, it's a blue slide. I'm sure. Oh, sorry, can I hear a bit of feedback? I'm sure some of the bullets on this slide are not news to everyone, but the couple of points are really important in particular, because we really try and focus on education as part of the Tech She Can Charter. Obviously, we know only 24% of people at the moment working in STEM roles are women. We know that for the future generation, in 10 years' time, over 70% of students will be working in jobs which don't currently exist. So when we think about how the younger generation, particularly girls, are taught about technology at school, we can't expect the teachers that are teaching the new generation to know about things that just purely don't exist right now. We might not know they exist, but it's part of our responsibility in the technology industry and where we work and the things we know about to try and bring as much of that knowledge as possible to education. So a real thing that we work on with the Tech She Can Charter is about the pipeline. So enriching education and influencing change are our two main buckets of work. So Vanessa, if you could move down to my next slide, please. This is our vision as the charter. So our vision is for women to be equal members in creating and developing the new tech businesses, products and services that help shape our world. So with that figure being so low of the amount of women working in technology and the new tech products and services that are created every day, if we don't have women as part of that conversation, how can they be created so that they're not biased in terms of the people that live in that world? So the vision that we live by is this. I just wanted to share that with you. You can move on to the next slide, please, Vanessa. This talks about the statistics that we found out. So when we first started working on the idea that we needed organisations to collaborate together, to work together, to change the ratio, we realised that we couldn't do this as PwC alone, which is why this is a charity now backed by 208 organisations. And we started with a piece of research which was called Time to Close a Gender Gap, which was released in 2018, and it revealed some of these statistics that are on the slide. And one of the main statistics that we always mention is that only 3% of females that we interviewed said a career in technology would be their first choice. And this was from 2,000 A-level and university students. So that was the worrying, really worrying statistic that brought this together. Some of the other things on there, a real difference between 27% of females said they'd consider a career in technology compared to 62%. And there's also a really interesting dynamic that the females that we interviewed said they choose a career based on the fact that it's doing good for the world or good for society. The male angle was slightly different in the fact that they look at careers based on the fact that it's showing there is career progression and that salary could, there would be a high salary. So there's a real difference in the way that we need to be talking to younger girls to interest them, purely to inspire them that the world of technology and a technology career may be where they want to end up. Could you move on to the next slide, please? So as I said, the Tech She Can Charter started in 2018. It was always we started it within PwC, but it was always a collaboration between organisations. So we've got Catherine from Credit Suisse on the call, who was part of it from the very start, weren't you, Catherine, in that room, trying to figure out the name Tech She Can and making sure it was a real collaborative approach. We originally started with 18 organisations that said, yes, I want to do something. And we came up with some initiatives around focusing on education, to inspire people, particularly girls. And we knew we wanted to implement change. So how could we change this in the workplace, in school and in government? So we work with a lot of partnerships like We Are Tech Women and We Are Tech City to work together to alleviate some of those issues and work together on those. So we work together with Tech Talent Charter, STEM Learning, and also we have the backing of the DCMS, which we're really delighted to have. So now we're a charity and we've got 208 organisations that are part of this charter. So if anyone's on the call that also wants to join this and wants to have a more in-depth conversation, I'm happy to have that after this call. Can I have the next slide, please, Vanessa? So one of the main things I mentioned we're really focused on is education. So for the past 3 years, we've really focused on this as a pipeline piece. So if we can improve the way that children start to think about technology, we'll start to see an influence and an impact on the pipelines of those jobs that we're trying to recruit from. So the 3 things that we offer at the moment with Tech We Can are lesson plans. So these are teacher toolkits and lesson plans that are focused on the ages of 9 to 14, and they focus on a different area of technology. So for instance, some of the lesson plans are real techie areas, so some around tech for safety and security, some around AI, but some around those different passions that we know kids might have, to try and tap into that area that they might already be interested in, but show them there's a key element of technology behind that. So one of our lesson plans is called Tech for Fun, and that's a lot around gaming and VR. And did they know that actually there's someone that works to create Fortnite that they play on every day, that you could have a job in that area? So we're really trying to show them and open their eyes to someone creates the things that you're looking at every day. One of the nice areas of work that we've worked on in lesson plan is Tech for Energy, and that was a real collaboration around some of our signatory members, EDF, BP and Centrica. We really showed the areas of work that were within those organisations and marketed that as a lesson plan together, which are organisations that typically wouldn't have collaborated together in the past on client work. They're doing this for the sake of building up that pipeline and inspiring the younger generation. Obviously, the last year we had to take that into a different kind of model. So we launched Tech We Can at home. So recognising the fact that there weren't kids in school and teachers weren't looking for material because they weren't teaching it, but parents were. So we offered all of our Tech We Can lesson plans for at home. We then developed that even further and created Tech Tuesdays. So for the space of about 10, 11 weeks, every Tuesday, we released a shorter on-demand classroom lesson that could be showed in the classroom or could it be at home. Many parents logged in to use this with their kids. But a Tech Tuesday was hosted by our education consultant, Becky, and also Katie King, who's one of our real life role models that works for us. She's currently studying and finishing a dissertation in nanotechnology, so she's really inspiring anyway. But they hosted some of the original lesson plans of shorter models, but also developed out new material as well. And that's been really successful for us, so we've continued to use that model. And then the other thing that we offer back to some of our charter members is a thing called Tech We Can Champions. So this is a way for those organisations that have signed up to the charter to start to give something back. So we offer the chance for anyone in your organisation that might have volunteering or CSR time to train themselves in the material, and there's 3 different options that they can do it. They can use the Tech We Can material, or they can use a Tech Tuesday material either virtually or in the classroom, and they start to be that real role model in the classroom with tailored material that we know meets Gatsby benchmarks, Ofsted benchmarks that the schools are crying out for. So this model and this 3-pronged attack has worked really well for us. We're starting to move into a different age group at the moment because I don't think we can start any earlier. So we can't start too early, I mean. We're starting at the age group of 5 to 8 with some animation types. So we're looking at the moment at different characters, working with some organisations to help us fund these animations, because obviously recognising the fact that we're in a charity status. So our first one will be around tech for the future, and we'll be creating an animation around that and starting to work in primary schools, which is a really exciting move for us to start that pipeline piece and inspiration piece far earlier. If you can move on to the next slide for me, Vanessa. This is just a snapshot of those lesson plans that we have in existence at the moment. We've got over 600 schools that are signed up to our material, and our reach, where you can see a lot of our material and all the homework that the kids shared during the pandemic with our hashtag TechWeCan. And there's just a snippet of just under 47,000 portal visits to techwecan.org. So we've been amazed at how successful this has been so far, and we want to work with more organisations to help produce more material as we go through. If I could have the next slide, please, Vanessa. I've already talked through all of this, haven't I? So all of TechWeCan at home, here's just a bit more content. So we've had over 1,300 users at home, far more online views, and 96% of the kids taking part said we put in a rating system to see whether they enjoyed it, and most of them were 4 stars out of 5, which was great. Could I have the next slide, please, Vanessa? So what's next? We've done a lot so far, and we've really focused on the education piece, but as we grow and we move into charity status, we want to start looking at apprenticeship packages. So we have piloted some of this already, but what we are able to do within the TechWeCan organisations is start to share the levy that's given to small to medium organisations. So those bigger organisations that might not be using it, is how can we share it with younger organisations and smaller organisations that might not have it. We've recently piloted a careers insight programme. Sounds similar to what you're doing at Talk, but we shared it amongst the signatories. So one day they came into PwC virtually, the other day they went to Credit Suisse, and the other day they went to Morgan Stanley. So they've got an interest and an experience of lots of organisations and lots of different tech sectors. So we're looking at expanding that model. We still want to be researching and providing best practice on what works to help attract, retain, develop and advance. A lot of our work at the moment has been done on that pipeline piece, but how can we bring that along to the workplace and things like retention and keeping them once we've attracted them. We still want to expand our reach of TechWeCan. So as for instance said, we're going younger with our age group. We want to bring up the TechWeCan champions. So I should say as well, this is done in partnership with STEM Learning. So when an ambassador goes onto the site to become a TechWeCan champion, they must also become a STEM ambassador as well to get their CBR checks and making sure they've got access to all of the technology resources they might need, as well as TechWeCan. We want to be seen as champions of change, so we want to broaden our reach and become better known. We want to have more partnerships as well. So like I already said, we're working with STEM Learning and Tech Talent Charter, and we've got those links with DCMS, but we want to deepen these relationships and see where we can partner more with organisations that are in these spaces to make sure we're broadening out our reach and having that bigger change that we can do in collaboration with others. So if we could have the next slide, I can't remember which one's next. I think that might be it. So I'm sorry. That's the end of what I was talking about with TechWeCan. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them now, or happy to have any follow-ups with other organisations if you're interested in being involved.
So thank you, Robin. So, I mean, obviously ask some questions away in the chat box, and again, we can connect you with Robin. I've been there since the inception, since the creation of TechWeCan, when it was just an idea, when Robin rang me, said, what do you think of this idea? And watching it grow and get first year anniversary into the, it's just incredible to see the amount of work that you guys have done, and the charity status is just the icing on the cake. So I can see you going off in all directions, and I'm with you, Robin. You know, let's camp outside the nurseries and get them into tech. It's the only way we're ever going to shift that 17%. And on that note, there was something I saw the other day that said that the percentage of women in tech has actually shifted to 20% during the pandemic. So need to go back and find out where that report's coming from. Maybe Shilpa knows that.
I'll touch on that, Vanessa, sure.
Please, yes, please share. We were saying, because obviously the last year would have had a huge impact on this. So
3%, how do we maintain that momentum? So Robin, thank you so much. Wonderful presentation and incredible work you guys have done over there as well. So
thank you for having us.
That's all right. Do ask some questions of Robin in the chat group. So I'm going to move on to Shilpa. Shilpa, we too know each other for many, many years. Fantastic to see you become an author, a co-author with so many other wonderful women and gentlemen in tech that we know. So I'm going to hand over to you. Just tell me when you want me to change your slides. Perfect.
If we start with the first one. Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. So as Vanessa said, my name is Shilpa Shah. I'm going to just start by telling you a little bit about myself and then talking a bit about the book. So I call myself a problem solver and a bit of an innovator. I'm also a director at Deloitte's human capital practice. And I was born in the Midlands, and I think I was born a bit of a technophile. So my dad, and we touched on kind of role models and influencers, I think he was one of the key influences in my life and always thought technology was going to be this big thing in the future and encouraged me to pursue sort of STEM related subjects. So I took apart my speak and spell when I was 7. I learned to program on the Commodore 64, and I was helping him with his business by entering data on SuperCalc 2. If anybody is old enough to remember any of those things, well done. So I've always been interested and passionate about tech. And I studied and did my master's in computer systems engineering back in '97. And when I then joined the world of management consulting 24 years ago tomorrow, in fact. So what it is that I do is I help our clients deliver technology and digital enabled transformations across their businesses by bringing together the best of people, process, tech, and data. And working in consulting has meant that I've had a really great variety of diverse experiences and been able to help them with a number of different business challenges. There's a little picture of me there, if anybody recognizes where that is. It's the model village in Belgium, but with Westminster. So I am passionate about serving the public sector, and a lot of my career has been spent working with public sector clients. My roles across time have kind of ranged from software developer to data architect to project manager and operations and program director. But what's really remained has been passion for innovation, data, and solution seeking to complex problems and challenges, and then putting people at the heart of those technology-enabled transformations. I also happen to lead our wonderful award-winning UK Deloitte Women in Tech Network, which has over 1,800 members. And maybe on another session, we can talk a little bit more about some of the things we've done as a network. And it was great to hear from Ian and Stacey about some of the things you guys are doing in your network as well. I've been always passionate about diversity in technology and worked with lots of different organizations. So to Robin's point, collaboration is absolutely key to really driving change and increasing diversity in technology. I also chair the Consulting Inclusion Think Tank, and I'm a board member of the Institute of Coding's Industry Advisory Board. And you've got a little picture there of my wonderful family. So 2 teenage daughters to whom tech comes naturally. And I'm really proud that my eldest is doing computer science GCSE. And you've got my fabulous husband, who's an award-winning behavioral optometrist with whom I share lots of chores and adventures, because it only works if we are in it together. If we want to flick to the next slide. Brilliant, thank you. So just about why I'm here today, to talk about a book that I recently co-authored with some fantastic women from the world of academia and business, and it's called Women in Tech, a practical guide to increasing gender diversity. And we've already heard some really great things today about some practical steps you can take to improve better inclusion and diversity in tech. So why did we write a book and why did we do it now? So I mean, diversity in technology has been a personal passion for me for many years. And as I said, I've led the network for over 15 years. And we as a group, the kind of co-authors, have been talking about it for some time, about the different challenges and the opportunities there are for greater diversity in tech. And we were sharing with each other, you know, what we were doing, how we were making some change, but we wanted to use our collective experience and guidance to help other people on their journeys. And there is so much great material out there already, sometimes a lot to get through about great things that people are doing, lots of information available, online articles, but there's still something about physically picking up a book and having it in your home office or your office or on the train and being able to dip in and out of it. And that's the thing that really attracted me to wanting to be part of the project, as well as being able to work with some amazing authors from academia and businesses as well. And it was a really challenging and different and new experience for me. I found the writing process quite interesting, lots of iterations to get through, but sharing, my ideas and thoughts and experience was something that I've always wanted to do. So being a co-author has also helped tick that personal goal, and I hope it will really help benefit others. And now seems to be the perfect time. So we have I think from the BCS, the stats are around women working in IT, and I think it's always different to sort of stats published around women working in digital or women working in STEM. So that's probably, Vanessa, where the difference in figures comes from. But it says that we're still at 17%. But throughout the pandemic, we did kind of increase because of the agility and flexibility of the types of roles that were coming up, and everybody more equalized and being on a level playing field because everybody was working remotely. So we did see an increase. And I think, one of the things we absolutely need to do is to make sure we remember the lessons, both positive and negative, from the pandemic, and how we really make, the future of work, how we really make hybrid work, but hybrid work in a properly inclusive way. So what we don't want to see happening is, certain groups of people rushing back to the office, but then certain groups feeling left behind because of different choices in lifestyle, different needs, etc. So we really need to think about how we make hybrid work more inclusively. And I think now seemed like the perfect time because there feels like there's just so much more momentum now compared to maybe even 5 years ago. It feels like there's been a bit of a aha moment across business and a real genuine need to want to do something about making a real sea change. So many leaders are, of course, in a war for tech talent now and better understand that inclusion and diversity is just critical to a business's success and their strategy. And I've always said that, we're only going to make a real difference if we collaborate and work together and if everybody is on the journey. So it just felt like the perfect time to write a book. We skip to the next slide. Just a little bit about what's covered in the book. And we've touched on some really great themes, which are talked about in the book as well. It covers many different areas, but hopefully in an easy to digest way with practical steps, case studies, and guidance. We also recognize that everyone's going to be at different stages of the journey. I'm sure everybody who's joined today is on different stages of their own women in tech network journeys as well. So wherever you are, wherever your organization is on their journey, there's definitely something in the book that is there for everybody. And we wanted to make sure the guidance was relevant to whether you are starting up or whether you're already mature in this space and wanted to kind of develop further. So if you think about a jigsaw puzzle, you want to complete it, but first you need to look at all of the different pieces and work out how they fit together. And so there are key issues that are covered in the book that help the readers develop their understanding, no matter what their baseline. So for some, the why and the business case for diversity in tech is still going to be incredibly important to get to grips with that first piece of the puzzle. For others, it's going to be about bettering their understanding of unconscious bias, perhaps, and how to recognize this and manage this within their organization. And maybe for others still, the practical steps that people need to change, the changes to HR processes and policies, how to kind of create that community, how to attract and retain more talent will be something that they want to focus on. So, whilst there is something for everyone and each piece will offer something, I do recommend reading the whole book to get the most out of it. If we flick to the last slide, Vanessa. Brilliant. So one of the questions I get asked all the time is, what's the one thing we can do to drive real change quickly? And sadly, if it was just one thing we needed to work on and fix, we would have done it by now. There really isn't a silver bullet. So what I think is required instead is just this constant focus, momentum, and real commitment. And we've touched on some great things already, from early education to supporting people getting back into employment, retraining, returners. We need to continue to really push and drive for change if we're going to want to see a difference. And if we think of this as an ecosystem, we're all actors in the ecosystem and everyone needs to play their part. And I think together we can really encourage more girls to pursue technology in the future and study those subjects, more women to enter the technology workforce, and more women to retrain into tech. I even think that we should be looking at the retiree community because they have so much experience to offer. We should be bringing them back into tech as well. And I think we all know the potential that we can unlock from realizing women's participation, not only in individual businesses, but for UK PLC as a whole. So I think we all owe it to keep going until we get to parity. So whether you're a parent, a carer, a mentor, a business leader, a teacher, a student, if there's a female in your life that you can encourage and support and inspire to get into tech, then, you know, I think just please do so. Just imagine if every person spent 1 hour inspiring someone from the next generation to get into tech. Big changes do come from small actions. So if everybody made the effort and took the time to do this, I think we could make a real difference. There are lots of things that we can do as individuals, as organizations that make a difference to everyone, and everyone who's here today is showing their passion, their interest to keep making this happen. So let's keep building on that. So just 3 sort of guidance steps for people as individuals, and then 3 for organizations. So as individuals, be part of the journey, get involved, get others involved, whatever your level. So if an organization already has an initiative or a program, get involved. And if it doesn't, or if it's a grassroots network, then seek out sponsorship, because the real change will come when you've got that sponsorship from the exec, when you've got that board level sponsorship, because they get that this is an imperative for their business. And the book does touch on, you know, grassroots initiatives and the power of these and how to get board sponsorship and exec buy-in. I think everybody on the call is already a role model and an inspiration for others. And you know, I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times. You can't be what you can't see. And it's that well-known adage that is still true today. But we've got tech, we've got platforms, we've got events, virtual and physical. And, you know, there's definitely a way that everybody working in tech can inspire somebody else. So, you know, everything from those who are new to tech to retrainers and returners and those who are looking for a career change, go and be an inspiration for someone. And as we've touched on again today, so build your network and collaborate. We've had some really great examples from Ian and Stacey and Robin today on what they're all doing. And it was really inspirational to hear from you guys as well. And so by joining the session today, I think you're going to be further inspired to work with others. And whether it's schools or programs, your suppliers, your customers, signing up to the different charters, please do get involved. One thing I love to do, even before the pandemic, was I had this thing where I reach out to 3 new people every day. So I would talk to people on the tube, I would talk to strangers, I'd talk to strangers in the lift, in the building at work, just to make new connections. And then I also like to connect 3 people to others that they don't know. So maybe if everybody started doing that, we'd really create the network effects and you'd never know where it would lead. And finally, in terms of things that organizations and leaders and businesses can do, you know, we really do know that, you know, they have the authority and ability to help drive change from the top of an organization. And it's only going to happen if there's real change within culture and leadership to recognize the importance of this. So there are a lot of practical things that leaders can do, and again, covered in the book, plugging the book. But if I had to summarize kind of the 3 things, I'd like to summarize it as 3 C's that we need to focus on as organizations, which are care, call it out, and commit. So care, genuinely caring about gender diversity is a critical first step. And if you're not sure why diversity benefits your business, then make the time to understand it. You know, we spend a lot of time learning about different things. And I think, you know, the onus is on business leaders to actually learn about this and understand the case. So if there are challenges related to culture, make time to understand why these exist. And I think we touched on listening. Listening is such an underrated and powerful skill. So listening to others and what they are saying and hearing what they are saying about diversity challenges and good practices is critical. You know, we pay so much attention to business strategy, and we just need to match that with care and attention on your people strategy, because people are the thing that drive your business. So ideally, these 2 strategies will be inextricably linked, and caring and even showing that you genuinely care about inclusion and diversity is key. And you can do that through whatever mechanism feels most authentic to you, whether that's sharing it in a video cast, coming on calls like this, whether that's talking about it in newsletters within your organization. Demonstrate that you care. And then I think it's on all of us to genuinely call it out. So when you see behavior that's not appropriate, or when you see a lack of diversity, whether it's in a panel session at a conference or in a meeting room, whether it's with, you know, in a session with your suppliers or your customers, call it out. And then understand why that's happening. And that is, again, a whole topic in itself, you know, starting with your recruitment processes all the way to your retention processes and everything in between. But ask yourself, make the time to reflect and ask yourself, what is it that you are going to do together to do something about it? And I think my third point was commit. So commit and take action and make the change. You genuinely need to hold yourself and others to account, perhaps through formal goals, and share these with everybody, you know, in your organization, because that group accountability is even stronger. So to help create inclusive organizations where people from all genders want to work, there really needs to be a change in culture, and it takes time. It's not going to be fixed overnight. So making sure you think about short-term, medium-term, longer-term goals, and then how you're going to follow through on these is really key. Like I said, there's lots of guidance out there already for everyone on how to do this, and lots of great practices being shared, including in the book. So don't delay, order your copy today. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you, Shil, for so much great advice in there as well. And, you know, and I'm a big fan of the, you know, calling things out and stuff like that. One of the things I would say just before I leave you is, you know, it's all very good getting the percentage of women in tech up, but it's making sure that the women in tech don't all look like each other. So if I could just put something into your minds around how do we ensure the intersectionality of women in tech that we need, that brings the diverse perspectives. And a lot of that goes back to Shilpa's point around the role models that we put in front of people. People need to see people that look like them and sound like them. The people that we put on our stages, you know, the message from the top, you know, how do we make sure that we create clear pathways from lots of different people from different backgrounds to actually make their way through to the senior ranks to be the role models that people want to see. So I'm just going to put a different kind of another little lens into there for you to think about. So I think we're out of time. You're welcome to ask Shilpa some questions in the chat group. I just want to go around the room just so that you all know who each other are, because to Shilpa's point around building the network, half of what we do at WeAreTechNetworks and We Are the Cities, we bring people together for the greater good. And part of that is you guys getting to know each other and to be able to make those connections without us necessarily at the helm, although we're happy to do it. So a few things I'm going to see if I can get for the next meeting, which I'm probably going to do at the beginning of December. See if we can get Nationwide to come in and talk about that programme that they did, because I think it's really, really interesting. I want to talk a little bit about sponsorship. I've got some ideas for some sponsorship models that you can try out on the next meeting as well, but you know, I'm sure we'll have another jam-packed meeting. So before we go around the room, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's joined us today on the call. It's been fantastic to hear from you, from Stacey, from Shilpa, I say stepping in at the last minute, Robin, as well, and oh god, I've lost him, his name's gone out my head. Ian, that's the one. Ian, thank you, and for Ian for joining us as well. So just quickly, if you're comfortable, if you can all kind of just quickly turn on your cameras, or you don't have to, you can just speak. I just want people to know the companies that we've got online. So Catherine, quick, who you are, what company?
Hi. I'm Catherine Neal from Credit Suisse. I'm the co-chair of our IT Women's Champions Network. And we also have joint sort of male-female leads at all levels. Thanks.
Fantastic. I'm going to go to Alison Payne. I don't know if Alison, if you can come off.
I can. So I'm Alison Payne from Northern Trust. So I chair the DE&I Council for the region, and we've also got a Technology Resource Council and a Women in Technology Resource Council. And I'd like to thank Vanessa for all their help with that. So thank you.
More than welcome. Joanne, HSBC, tell us who you are.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Jo. A couple of hats. So first hat is I'm a global D&I consultant for DBS, which is under John Hinshaw, who's the Chief Operating Officer of the bank. I lead the gender pillar for Stacey Aliato, who's our DCOO, and Dave Grimmy, who's our GM and manages Asia for us. And then also I work with the lovely Leanne Lawton here, and together we run the Balance IT initiative, and that's a global initiative that covers technology with all the support of Steve Van Wyk, who's our newish CIO across the bank. And I'm also a Balance ambassador for the global ERG programme, so very active there as well. So quite a few things going on.
Thank you. And all of you are great supporters of ours as well. So Namada, EY.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Narmada Guruswamy. I'm co-chair of the EY Women in Tech group. We have about 700 members, and we've been around since 2015. We focus on supporting women across the whole journey from entry to mid-career to leadership. And we've got a lot of different programs on the go.
Fantastic. And Naomi?
Oh, hi, how are you? I'm working with Alison Northern Trust, so obviously working in tech, but I've been quite involved with the Technology Resource Council and the Women in Technology group as well, that Alison has been the driving force behind. And I've had the opportunity to obviously join a panel at the WeAreTech conference this year, and lots of other, I'm just really, really passionate about this whole area. So looking forward to making the numbers change and go up.
And Laura?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm from Mazar. We're doing a lot with tech networks specifically because we're kind of building what we're offering at the moment. So it's been really interesting trying to get some ideas and build what we're doing, because I think we had something about a year ago or a year or so ago, but COVID kind of got in the way. So it's really interesting listening to everyone and trying to get some more ideas to kind of get our network moving. So thanks.
Thank you. So there's, have I missed anyone? There's a couple of people that their names are not coming up. So feel free to come off your camera and introduce yourselves.
I'm Leanne Lawton. I'm also with Joe at HSBC. I'm the Employee Engagement Manager for Wholesale Tech Digital. And as Joe said, I work with her to deliver our Balance IT programme for our GCB 3 and 4 women across technology globally, really, and encouraging them to move up the ladder into more and more senior roles across tech to achieve that gender balance, as well as a multitude of other things for women in tech within the bank.
As always, I think every single one of you run a multitude of things off the side. It's like the day job and then everything else that we all do. Have I missed anyone off there on the grid? I've got a gentleman here, but I can't see his name.
I just wanted to say hi from Oliver Wyman. I'm Team I run the Women Oliver Wyman digital network, looped into our sort of global ERG process and our I&D work. We're currently focusing on sort of 3 areas, some of which we've sort of heard about on the call, around that inspiration, development of soft skills, and getting into those sort of promotion opportunities and building our whole community. But we are relatively young as a network. We sort of set up at the beginning of this year, so hopefully coming up to our 1-year anniversary soon.
Fantastic. And finally,
hi, you've got Gemma here. I apologise for my appearance. I didn't have time to make myself beautiful after going for a swim earlier today. So I work for BNP Paribas. I'm in the privacy space, actually, having worked for a long time on cyber and technology topics at Deloitte and a few other organisations prior to joining BNP Paribas. I set up the Women in Cyber Network at BNP Paribas 2.5 years ago. We now have 600 members and are about to balloon up to 2,000 with the addition of a whole lot of people in APAC. So we have 5 global chapters as well. So that's going really well. We at the moment are just trying to attract more women, obviously internally, into moving from more mobility into cyber and technology topics. So that's kind of our focus, but also to give a platform to the women who are already in there, but perhaps aren't necessarily at senior level, but need to get their profiles up and running. We're writing blogs, we're writing articles, we're doing interviews, panel discussions, and focusing on areas that are linked to cyber, geopolitics and cyber, AI and cyber, all those things that are and technology, obviously, just more broadly. Anything to showcase the variety of cyber and technology.
Fantastic. I think that's everyone. We do have a LinkedIn group that we set up for you so that you can all go off and connect on LinkedIn and continue these conversations. We will be having, I say, our next meeting in December. And also, I mean, this is your network. So anyone that you want to hear from, anything that you want to particularly focus on, we know everyone, right? So come and have a chat with us, and we'll see what we can do to continue to add value to these meetings and to continue to facilitate the connections that you will need to grow your network so that we can see more women in tech. And we see that number rising up to where it should be, which in my mind's eye is 50%. So I'll leave you. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Leona will do a follow-up with a video for anyone that didn't see it, with some links in there. Please connect with each other, as we said earlier on, but just thank you so much for your engagement and for being part of the meeting, and to all of our speakers today. It's been lovely spending time with you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.